I speak a strange language of tree groans and windy whispers. When I listen close, I'm told tales by creaking timbers, of days when frost giants left the mightiest groves and splinters, and of that holy deep snow melt following age-long winters. And I said, have no fear, my darling dear. This is what happens in the mountains. The cold seasons and long years will traverse landscapes, give thanks to the ancients, and in these sacred places, draw strength from the surroundings.
I like understanding how things work, because in the natural world, the truth is really weird. When you understand a lot about mundane things, they become significantly more startling to people when you talk about them. To most people, animals are mundane, because we're used to living with them. But there are lots of people and artists like me who like going one step further to comprehend their realness, and in our minds, their realness becomes our fiction. Fiction is derived from nature, because what is natural applies to our current place in the universe. And fiction is what happens when those elements are out of place. You can call something a monster because it isn't anything you've seen before, and it looks scary. But to someone in my world, it could be the equivalent of a dog or a close friend. In the world I make, the principles of nature are there, but they become something wild in the context of my setting. If you're playing in a D&D game, why would you want to be anything on the same level as yourself as a person? The mundane doesn't exist in my world to the regular person, but what the fictional inhabitants of my setting experience daily could be considered a regular Tuesday. D&D's toolset is easily dissectable, but its licensed content isn't consistent. The races my players can be are as strange as monsters, and they have plenty of things they can do that give them a presence. The style is important. My races consist of common elements of a fantasy setting, but I flip them hard. I take inspiration from the greats, jokingly, because I can't appreciate what I don't want to read. But I understand enough. I want to write more. Taking notes isn't something I can bring myself to do conventionally. My drawings are my notes, and I occasionally include quips and questions to get the idea across, or if I need to remind myself. If I was required to write a study with pure creative freedom, almost everything I'd want to get across would be done so with drawings. I see them like small, contained memories. Memories I usually end up disregarding. The transition between mediums isn't usually complicated because I don't want it to be. I'll only reference my notes if I'm actually anal about a design I have in mind, which is seldom. So my end product is only representative of the notes on a surface level. Everything in between I want comes while I'm drawing it. I like seeing what my brain retains and what it unconsciously ignores. The idea is always set in stone, but the end product is always a mystery to me. But what my designs do is read. They do the reading for you. Everything should be there to tell you what they are and what they do and how they feel. Some of my creatures are like people, so they are capable of complex emotions and have varied lifestyles. They can be communicated with too. Some are smart and some don't have much to say. I can usually imagine what one of my creatures sounds like just by looking at its face. Being an abstractionist helps more with design than you'd expect. I can control how well something reads, and if I want to be academic about it, I can make certain details present over others. When lines are blurred, they get scary. And I think my favorite part of what I do is how I can put the fear of God into someone and their character with a picture they see appear on the board. Maps are something I've also been getting into more. I have a very video game-like approach to the way I build my world. Given I also run most of my D&D games online, the Roll20 program with all of its APIs feels like I'm actually programming. I can determine where people are allowed to go and what they can move past. Enemies and other environmental details are also placed with some foresight. I also take a lot of inspiration from old games like Doom, Quake, and Metroid, where there are hidden items and weapons that reward the party for environmental exploration. I'm personally not a fan of puzzles, but I do include aspects of the environment that can be interacted with, like switches, underwater paths, and destructible walls. I think immersion through detail is important like that. The environment is also important because it dictates where my creatures live, so typically I imagine the environment first, so I get a decent handle of what can live there. I also take aspects like adaptive and convergent evolution into consideration. Prehistoric life is also something I take a lot of inspiration from because of how speculative it is. If you want something close to a living fantasy creature, look no further than dinosaurs and other ancient creatures alike. I think most people should be taking an interest in the history of Earth's life forms, and arthropods especially. They're as, if not more diverse and specialized than most animals, and also outnumber us by the millions. There's a lot there to look at. I like being a dungeon master because it combines a number of things that I like. Sharing the intrigue of nature and being able to have players walk through my creations. That's definitely the most rewarding thing of all.